All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Believe in Bills, presented by FanDuel. I am Adam Benigni of WGRZ TV and Sports Talk Live Buffalo. Sal Maiorana, Rochester, DNC. Why don't we do this? Why don't we hoist the mugs?
The brand placement?
Yeah.
I wish I had a contract with Dunkin' Donuts. I deserve one, so I go there $5 every day.
You're in Buffalo, I see, right?
I am. I'm at my sister's house after a nice 5 hours of sleep last night. Ready to go for day 2 here. Quite a night last night, Adam. That press room, it was so funny. You've been in there, so we have the 2 TVs in each corner. Yeah. But now they have a new digital backdrop behind the podium for their whoever the sponsor is. I didn't realize that's actually a screen. It's actually a theater screen.
Oh, so they could put the hockey game on that?
So they had the hockey game on the big middle screen, and then we had the draft up above us, and then on my iPad, I'm watching Yankees Red Sox. So it was a lot of disconnection last night in the press room, but it was good that all the action with the Bills didn't start until both of the games were over. So it was a crazy night. Plus, we had mulberries. We had mulberries for dinner, which is awesome, as you know.
Yeah.
So good night in the draft room.
Good stuff. Hey, and it's probably just as well then, from that perspective and others, that they wound up trading down as they did multiple times.
Yeah. Right? Look, we had talked about this, that if they could pull it off somehow, that would be the smart move. It certainly took a journey to do it with the 3 trades, but we can go over it, Adam. But when it's all said and done, I think he did a fantastic job last night of getting out of a pick that you weren't going to get great value. He's going to get the same value at number 35 up at the top of the second round that he would at 26. And he picked up 2 extra picks. He improved himself in numerous situations, including getting a second round pick back. He upgraded the third round pick by 25 spots. He added 2 fourth rounders. I mean, I know Bills fans are waking up today on Friday. They're pissed off that they hung around for 3 hours and he never made a pick. But, when you break it down and understand the strategy of it, he did a great job. Now the key is going to be, you got to pick the players, right? Now he's got the arsenal, but now he's got to pick the guys that are going to come in and help. And that's, as we've talked about numerous times, he's had a little bit of a spotty history. So, now it's on him to pick the right guys.
Yeah, but that history has him doing actually much better in the middle rounds, right?
Yeah.
So if anything, if we're going to bring history into it, maybe this plays to his favor a little bit.
I think the best thing he did, Adam, was he got up high in the second round, because in this draft, and who knows? These are analysts talking. We don't really know what's going to happen with these players, but the sweet spot for this draft has always been since 2 months ago. We've been talking about this top of the second round to the middle of the third round, where you were going to get the best value. And look where he's sitting. He's sitting right the top of the second round and right in the middle of the third round. I think it was a masterclass. Again, people are pissed off because they want to see a player get picked, because the first round, they think it's so important. Let me tell you something, Adam, and you know this. In the first round, once you get past probably pick number 20, it's not truly a first round talent, right? There's just not, especially in this draft, which was always thin to begin with. You're going to get the same player at 35 that you would have gotten at 26. I'm not going to say it's 66, you get the same guy, but it's not going to be as far off as people think. So just calm down, let the process play out. And I think they're in a much better situation starting tonight.
Well, especially when you consider you have DJ Moore already, right?
Right. You've already got a second-round pick, yeah.
Right. Their philosophy on this was he's a member of this draft class, effectively, based on what they did.
Just like Stephon Diggs was in 2020, and that worked out. If he's your first-round pick in 2020, you had an all-pro player for 4 years, so it worked out good.
And then when you add to the fact, and you just alluded to this, but that this is a thin class in terms of true first-rounders, and that's why his comment to Jay Skursky of the Buffalo News on the pre-draft earlier in the week when he said this, they're on the low end of what they typically have in terms of true first round grades. You're probably talking 15 first round grades max.
Yep.
When it's usually 20, 21, 22 the teams would have in a good year, right?
Yes.
So add all that up. And to me, I mean, our show previewing the draft, our last draft preview show of several was that he should trade down. Here's why, and who's likely to be there. Yeah. So now, why don't we go ahead and go ahead?
I would have been very interested, Adam, to see what would have happened if Casey Concepcion was there, because we were talking in the press room, and he went at number 24 to the Browns. So 2 spots before the Bills. Now, again, he'll never tell us. Obviously, this is all speculation, but it felt like if he had gotten to 26, they might have pulled the trigger and just picked him, even though, to me, that would have been. I mean, he might end up being a great player. Probably will be, actually. But when you got DJ Moore as your second round pick, to double down again at receiver when you got so many things you need on defense, that would have been a little bit of a risky move. But it would have been interesting to see if he had gotten to 26, because they might have avoided all this, trading of picks and just gone ahead and taken him. But we're never going to know. It's going to be one of those what ifs that 4 years down the road, if Concepcion's a star for the Browns, which, it's going to be harder to be a star for the Browns than the Bills. We're going to look back on this draft and say, well, what if he had gotten there to 26? Would he have taken the guy? But yeah, we don't know.
I'm sure there were scenarios by which if this person falls or whatever, I mean, realistic scenarios, if this person falls or whatever, then we're going to pick at 26. But
Dylan Thieneman went one pick before. I mean, maybe he would have been a guy they would have. 2 guys right back to back that you and I both had talked about as legitimate possibilities.
Right. So, and just before we kind of get into kind of who's left now, because I do think that paints an optimistic picture, especially, near the top of the second round there. But the fact he was able to do it multiple times to move out of those picks in a draft where everyone knows, I'm sure a lot of boards look the same as Buffalo's.
Yeah.
Right.
It was funny, right? We've discussed this, like the trade down scenarios really didn't seem very good because of the lack of first round talent. And we posed the Ty Simpson scenario. If he had fallen to 26, would one of those teams early in the second, namely the Jets and the Browns, who, might be looking for a quarterback, would they have gone up with the Bills? Or really, there's a couple other teams they could have made that move with, but the Bills would have been first, right? Would they have done it and gotten it done just by doing that? But he went 13 to the Rams. So that once that happened, I'm like, he's going to stick and pick. That would probably be the most likely scenario. When he found 3 teams, three teams to go back with, I was like, and they were small moves. I mean, they went from, the Texans went up 2 spots, the Patriots went up 3 spots, and then the Titans came up into the first round, whatever that was, 4 spots. So, I mean, they were small moves, and they brought back that extra pick, on day 3. But yeah, to find 3 teams willing to do it, to go into the first round was a little bit surprising.
All right, so let's talk about now who might be available for them here moving forward. And by the way, he's got capital now. If he wants to move up,
right?
He's
got 3 4th rounders, and 2 of them are. In fact, it's funny. He's got 2 rounds where they have back-to-back picks. They have in the 4th round they have back-to-backs. And I think it happens again in the 5th round. So you're right. He's got all kinds of capital to do something. Hey, maybe he can get an extra pick in the 3rd round. I don't know, but yeah, he set himself up with a pretty good arsenal here.
So FanDuel, presenting sponsor for this show and others on the Believe Network, had mocked edge rusher Cashius Howell to Buffalo at 26.
Yeah.
That name still kind of looms large, doesn't it? I mean, I know that among those that are still available, looking toward rounds 2 and 3 here now, I mean, he's there, and in your list that you put together for the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, I expected to see him there, and obviously he was. I'm thinking right along the same lines. Where are you on what he might do?
Yeah.
at 35.
Look, he looks better to me in the second round than he does the first, right? I mean, the short arms are a thing. He had the shortest arms of any edge rusher at the combine, and that's historically not a great trait to have in the NFL. So you are taking a little bit of a risk there. Can he buck that tradition of guys who struggle with shorter arms? I mean, Malachi Lawrence went to the Cowboys. I think his arms are 3.5 inches longer, which makes them people laugh, right? But that makes a big difference when you're going against a tackle who's got 35-inch arms and you have 30-inch arms. I mean, do the math. It's hard. So he still presents a little bit of a risk, Adam, because in this draft, I think you and I would both agree he's got to nail these picks, right?
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of a risk taking Howell. Now, he's a fast, speedy, bendy guy, which they don't have, and they've got to add one of those players, so maybe they do pull the trigger on him. But there's a little bit of, and I guess you could say this for most players, there's always a little bit of risk. You're not quite sure how they're going to transition. But sure, he's a name that if he's still sitting there at 35, we've discussed that edge rusher was probably the way they were going to go if they stayed put at 26. That's a name that you got to consider for sure.
What about your man crush at linebacker?
That's the guy I'd pick right now. I mean, right now, if it's up to me, I'm taking Rodriguez, the linebacker, or I'd take Kaden McDonald, or even Kristen Miller, now that they're out of the first round. Kristen Miller's a nose tackle from Georgia. I would take one of those guys with this first pick at 35. Look, Rodriguez, all he did at Texas Tech was make plays all over the field. I mean, he's basically Matt Milano in his prime is how I would compare him, because he does everything pretty well. If you're going to have a 3-4 defense, okay, that linebacker is going to be on the field a lot, right? They're going to have their inside linebackers on the field a whole lot of snaps with Terrell Bernard and Dorian Williams, and then nothing behind them. To me, it makes so much sense, Adam, to pick an off-ball linebacker. You know, all the analysts say, oh, you don't pick an off-ball linebacker in the first round unless he's a superstar in the making, like Sonny Styles is probably going to be a superstar, number 7 to the Commanders. So you pick him there, but people were saying, well, if the Bills at 26, you're not going to get the value. That's complete bullshit to me. Look at the player. Look at the player Rodriguez is. If you can get him now in the second round, well, there's your value. So sure. I wouldn't even hesitate if it came down to McDonald, Rodriguez, or even Kristen Miller. I'm still going with Jacob Rodriguez. But
yeah, and I think you can make a case for Kaden McDonald.
Yeah, absolutely. Those guys, all three of those guys would be really, really solid picks. Push comes to shove, McDonald or Rodriguez would be on the field for most snaps. McDonald would be a rotation guy. And when you're picking that high, I guess you would want guys to play more snaps, but I'd be fine with either one of those players.
I mean, I just feel like a big shortcoming of this defense has been the ability to stop the run.
Yep.
And I think they're going to have to shore that up. And I think Kaden McDonald is just a hell of a way to do that. I mean, he is the prototype for what they need to accomplish that. If you can accomplish that on defense, I mean, think of what that does to opposing teams now, where they've had success against Buffalo, where they've been vulnerable, all of those things. And then he develops into, being able to give you more interior pressure, which is invaluable by NFL standards. That's the element that really, really knocks elite quarterbacks off their game. They can deal with the edge rush and get the ball out quick or use mobility or whatever, but it's the interior pressure that upsets the rhythm, doesn't allow them to set their feet, all of those things. I mean, I'm thinking Kaden McDonald in a very significant way from Ohio State. So
I wouldn't argue with that pick at all.
It makes it.
I can't make an argument against it.
For whatever frustration Bills fans are feeling, and perhaps listening to us at this point as you look toward tonight, I just think they're in a great spot. I mean, I think that they are. The fact, again, that he was able to do it 3 times, and I didn't think he'd be able to pick up what he did, to be honest with you. I mean, they're in a better position than I thought they would be in the scenario where they traded down. Yeah.
I mean, even the 6th round pick, Adam, is the first pick of the 6th round. It's not like one of those late in the 6th round. I mean, I think they're in a really good situation. He's got some picks to play with if he wants to move around the board again. But I think for the start of Friday night, make a pick at 35. You've
Right.
got the opportunity to get a starter probably at that spot. I wouldn't screw around anymore with that. Go ahead and make the pick. And then with that 66 pick in the third round, maybe you can maneuver. Maybe you can get a little higher using some of the picks you picked up later on day 3. It'll be interesting to see what he does, because if nothing else, Adam, we have seen that he loves making draft day trades, right? He loves moving around the board and playing that game. So, yeah, I would expect there could be more action tonight for sure.
So you're looking at he's got what? He basically doubled his pick total, his haul, right?
Yeah.
In the top 125 or 126.
He had 3 picks in the first 126 when the whole thing started. He now has 6 picks in the top 126. I mean,
So,
you look at the draft value charts. That's doing pretty good work there. Again, you got to pick the guys, but he's set himself up pretty well.
Yeah, but matching with value and already having DJ Moore, and I guess I'm making this point to wrap this up. You've already got the receiver position addressed. You may address it again, but he actually has better alignment from a value perspective and more of an opportunity to nail it at all of the positions that we've talked about.
Yeah. I mean, look, your point on Kaden McDonald, that makes tremendous sense because this is a deep linebacker class. So he probably could go into the third round. At pick 66, he's going to get a linebacker who's going to be able to help them. And, people have talked about Josiah Trotter from Missouri, who's got the bloodlines, right? His father was an all-pro for the Eagles. He was considered a guy that would have been a target at 91. Now it's 66. There you go. Anthony Hill from Texas is a guy we haven't really talked about too much because he's always been projected as a second-round guy, and I never thought the Bills would have a chance to get him with no second-rounder and a late third-rounder. So he's a guy all of a sudden that could come into play. I think he'll be a second-round pick, but if for whatever reason Beane loves him, he could move up maybe into the early third round or late second round. Maybe he gets into play here. Again, by adding these picks on Friday, these Friday picks are so valuable. Yep. And like you mentioned earlier, he's done pretty good with his Friday picks. Yeah. I mean, James Cook, Cole Bishop, Osiris Torrance, these are all Friday picks, not Thursday picks. He's got an opportunity to do something, but you're right. Getting the nose tackle first would set him up for a linebacker next because there's more linebackers available.
And numerous times we've heard him refer to the depth of this linebacker class. I think he was even on with Matt. I saw a clip on X. Matt Beauvais from Channel 7 had him on pre-draft last night. And without being asked specifically about the linebacker position, Beane went there and brought it up, the depth. So I think that scenario where you say you get Kaden McDonald at 35, then address linebacker and move on from there. Boy, I mean, he's setting himself up to again, align value with need.
Yep.
Right.
Look, Adam, he's never going to come out and say this, but I think they have to have some serious question about whether Dorian Williams can be a full-time player, right? I mean, he's a great athlete. He's good against the run. He's a downhill athletic, monster, I guess. Can't play the pass. So in a 3-4 defense, you need your linebackers. You only got 2 of them on the field. I don't really count the outside linebackers. They're more there for pass rush, and they're not going to be dropping into coverage much. So, your linebackers on the field have got to be able to cover. I'm not sure they trust Dorian Williams. And Terrell Bernard is always hurt. So you need a linebacker. So he's not going to say that, but I think he realizes I got to add a guy who can come right in and win a job. And now he's got a chance to do it for sure.
It's going to be very interesting to see how it all goes down. So Sal Maiorana here in Buffalo.
Oh, you want to talk about the Sabres? I mean, I know it's Believe in Bills, but it's all Buffalo fans here.
Well, sure, we can spend
because we're not going to talk about Game 3 on our next Believe in Sabres. That was a gritty game, man.
Yeah, that was their best game. That was their best game of the series.
Absolutely. I did not know what to expect going into Boston. I thought the first game in Boston would be hard to win. And then they were going to have pressure because you can't come back to Buffalo down 3-1. They would have had to win game 4. So to get the first one in Boston really, I think, lifts some of the pressure, because even if they do lose, they still come back even. I thought it was, they gave up the early goal there in the second period. It was second period, right? Yeah, it was scoreless in the first.
Yep.
They gave up that first one, and I'm thinking, oh man, you better get the next one. And they did. And then Tuck with that great play to get the go-ahead goal. And I'll tell you what, that empty netter by Osland.
Oh, yeah.
Adam, that was as good an empty net goal as you're ever going to see. He beat 3 guys down the ice to get the puck and then out-muscled the one dude to get it in. That was a great play.
I got to give credit to Lindy Ruff. I mean, he had his instinct, make the change in net. That paid off for him. And then Osland coming back. I mean, look, when you got a rookie like that with that type of speed, it's always dangerous when you have young talent realizing potential, right?
Yeah.
And we've heard Darlene talk about this kid, how talented he is. We've seen it. But, I mean, what he did on that empty net goal at the end was absolutely spectacular from an athletic standpoint. But to me, even more impressive was the pass to Byram.
Yeah.
That was absolutely beautiful. He's going deep in the left corner. And if you watch the replay, watch his vision, it was just incredible. He could be
the shot that Byram got off. That was not a hard or easy shot.
No,
the pass came through, but he really had to make a great play to get the shot off, and then the beat Swayman. Yeah, that was a beautiful play. You're right. That was really a nice play.
Osland could be a complexion changer. No one player changes everything. I mean, goaltenders tend to have more of an influence on that, but you inject that into Buffalo's lineup, right? And they still have some issues. But I thought that, philosophically, how they played that game, instead of trying to match or exceed the Bruins physically, I felt they got back to their DNA.
They did.
I thought you saw more playmaking, speed, edge, all those things. That may be your formula. That combined with a change in goaltending and the spark and whatever. I mean, good on Lindy Ruff, good on all of them. Because to go into Boston,
they outskated them all night long, which is what they have to do to win.
They did. I was getting, on Twitter in game 1. I'm sitting there. I was in the building that night, and I'm looking at the shots on goal are sometimes a deceiving number.
Yeah, they are.
a lot of those in game 1, Swayman was able to see. I just felt like the Sabres weren't moving their feet. Where's this edge and speed? And I understand they did a good job physically in that game and all those things. And then obviously game 2 spoke for itself, the way the Bruins were able to dictate. What you saw last night is more of the reason why I think both of us and many others had picked Buffalo to win this thing.
Yeah,
and
that's why they won
6 games.
That's why they won the division, because they played the way they played last night. That's how they won the division. Right. So we got to give a shout out to our guest from the other day, Matt Fairburn.
He was great
on Osland. He said Osland would come in and make a difference because he wins battles. Well, he won the ultimate battle on that on the empty net goal. So that was great. And the Alex Lyon move, it was obvious they had to do that, but you weren't sure because he had been hurt. And he really hadn't played well before he had gotten hurt. He had kind of gone into that slump. So I wasn't sure what to expect from him. But it was nice that a veteran goalie just knew what the hell he was doing in that situation.
Yep.
And he played well. I mean, I don't think Boston tested him all that much. But he made the saves he needed to make. And then the penalty shot was huge. That could have been 2-0.
Yeah.
He lets that one in. That was a big, big play in the game.
Right. I mean, and he had with Arvidsson there, I mean, his positioning on that or whatever, I mean, he played that and read that so perfectly that I don't think that, he took away the first option of what he wanted to do. So very impressive and, credit to them to go in and win at TD Garden where the Bruins had won an NHL high 29 games this season. Tough place to play in the playoffs. Another sign of growth from that team as they have the opportunity with a couple of days off now. I know that applies to both teams, but their legs, man, anything that gives the Sabres rest and the ability to take advantage of that speed, I like their chances going into to game 4. So we'll be back with you Monday and then another Believe in Sabres next week. Still working on lining up guest. I have the potential for a heavyweight. I'm not going to reveal the name right now, but who would provide some really good perspective on where things stand, with hopefully Buffalo up 3-1 with the opportunity to close things out coming home. In the meantime, rounds 2 and 3 of the NFL draft on tap tonight. Sal, you're going to be a busy man. You're in Buffalo, stationed with family there, and you'll be back then at One Bills Drive tonight. So for Sal Maiorana, the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, I'm Adam Benigni, WGRZ TV and Sports Talk Live Buffalo. This has been Believe in Bills, presented by FanDuel.